Life is Strange was an episodic game telling a story that is woefully undertold in video games. It feels familiar. It's a murder mystery rolled into a classic coming-of-age story, with some narratively problematic science fiction elements thrown in for good measure. Yet, it did something unique by talking about taboo things that usually don't find their way into games. Teen suicide, queer romance, euthanasia, modern-day bullying, drug addiction, and teen pregnancy are just a few elements that help make Life is Strange stand out from the crowd. And while it didn't tackle all of these ideas perfectly, it gave players a chance to see and identify with characters and moments that might reflect their own personal lives, in a pioneering way that games often don't have the courage to show. For me, and for many, Life is Strange has deeply resonated. I ended up with a strong personal connection to Arcadia Bay and its inhabitants. I found it immensely charming thanks in part to its soundtrack, relatable characters, and meaningful narrative choices. I would revisit it many times, showing Arcadia Bay to others, and to further reflect on what it meant to me. I saw myself in Max, with her penchant for photography and her willingness to do the right thing. I found myself drawn to Chloe. She was a character with depth and who felt very tangible. Don't Nod, the original developer of the game, has since announced that they are working on some sort of sequel. Before that arrives, however, we head back to Arcadia Bay with Deck 9, the studio formerly known as Idle Minds. I was immediately cautious as the game would tell the tale of Rachel and Chloe, a story we already know the ending of. The story had closed on Arcadia Bay, and Max and Chloe had reached an ending that, while divisive, was heartfelt. I'm glad to have returned though, and I was wrong about the story that I thought I knew. Before the Storm, so far, stands proudly alongside the original game. The return to Arcadia Bay is a welcome one. This is a story that needed to be told. In the original game, Rachel was an incredibly enigmatic figure. She was larger than life and had roots that grew deep into Arcadia Bay. Almost every character had glowing things to say about her. She touched everyone's lives and her absence was felt deeply. She reached across social lines, and almost every character, both minor and major, have a story to tell about her. She comes across as something to everyone and everything to some. Now, though, we get to see and understand what she meant to Chloe. Before the Storm doesn't start off strong. Chloe comes across as a sometimes frustrating 16-year-old with some understandable angst bubbling beneath the surface that rises up with an almost alarming frequency. In the game Fumbling, though, Chloe comes across as relatable and endearing. She has only recently lost her best friend and her father, one to circumstance and one to accident, and she's desperately just trying to find her place in the world. She is 16, and while slightly insufferable, we all were once. It's when Rachel comes careening into Chloe's life that the game picks up and becomes something special. Rachel is portrayed perfectly, thanks to some amazing voice acting, writing, and new facial animation work. The stilted lip-syncing issue from the original game is very much gone. Her character does fall into a well-known trope, though. The popular and successful girl who everyone adores but harbors deep emotional problems and scars that she buries deep inside. It's a cliche, but it works, and the chemistry of the two characters is instant. Before the Storm succeeds in two ways that I think the original Life is Strange actually fumbled on, showing a more relatable high school experience and building a stronger queer relationship. The original Life is Strange's conclusion is oft criticized for giving the player an underdeveloped and ultimately unsatisfying choice that allowed you to see your queer relationship through. It's a choice that led to many players creating their own endings to better serve the characters. Before the Storm instead makes Chloe a stronger bi character through her relationship with both Rachel and other characters. There's a moment where Rachel and Chloe are sitting side by side watching scenery pass by, and Chloe offers her a headphone of music. It is such a simple image, but being joined together by music is both symbolic and incredibly nostalgic, at least for myself. Chloe and Rachel find each other because of music, and music has a very important role in both the original game and Before the Storm. The songs help set the tone and atmosphere and tie strongly into both games' themes. With the game taking place 3 years before the original, we also get a glimpse into many characters before their roles in Max's life. We see a younger Victoria Chase and Nathan Prescott, as well as a new cast of characters that rope Chloe into various antics, such as a session of a Dungeons & Dragons analog. It lasts 20 minutes and becomes one of my favorite gaming moments of the year, letting Chloe show her true colors and get out of her shell a bit. Chloe even steps up to a bully pushing Nathan Prescott around, making his origins quite clear. Before the Storm proves to be a return to form, not for the series itself, but for adventure games as a whole. These are the stories worth telling and giving the space and voice to characters that aren't larger than life, but more close to who we are as individuals is powerful and worth celebrating. We can see ourselves in Chloe, in Rachel, and in Max, and I'm looking forward to the rest of Before the Storm with optimism. Both Life is Strange and Before the Storm aren't perfect, and they stumble and bumble on some things. But we all do, and when they do hit those high notes, they're some of the most powerful moments I've seen in gaming. Moments that continue to stick with me.
Chloe Price.
Rachel Amber.
Last night was amazing.
I'd never seen Firewalk live. Pretty fierce show.
We'll have to do it again. To tell the truth, I went to bed last night wishing it never had to end. But then I thought, why? Why does it have to end?